Hi, this is episode 7 of the Overwhelmed Vet podcast, and I want to speak to you about how we tackle the money issue, the price issue with the owners. In May, it was announced that the Competition and Markets Authority in the UK has decided to launch a market investigation into the veterinary sector. Now, I have no idea if this is good or bad, if it's a good thing or a bad thing, right? Like, I'm completely neutral about this. I guess it could be good that there are some transparency into how especially the corporates are working, whether the competition and all that is how it should be, whether there's fairness towards the pet owners and the prices not being pushed, out of proportion. The fact is that veterinary services in the UK are making about £5 billion a year. Now, just let that sink in for a minute, okay? And obviously, when this comes out in the news, which may not always be completely shown in a neutral way, you know what newspapers I'm talking about with the colorful pictures. The owners are going to see this and they're going to interpret it depending on what worldview they have, what the interpretation they have of the world per se already. And now it's us in the trenches on the ground floor that have to deal with these owners coming in that might have lost a bit of trust and might come in already suspicious about the whole pricing, the whole like money issue around vet services. I am not here to address the complexity of the business per se, but what I am able to talk about is the whole money mindset that is very complex and what makes us very triggered and what makes the owners very triggered when we stand in a situation where maybe there's not complete trust or where the owner is in financial kind of scarcity and challenge us in our prices, right? Because we are there and we are face to face with them, and if they already come in a bit burned and a bit what's going on here, look at these vets with all their expensive cars, then it's good to kind of know what's going on behind the scenes here. So why is money so triggering for people? Like, it is literally the most triggering thing in the world. Like, you can talk about food, you can talk about sex, you can talk about cars, you can talk about a lot of things. But the one thing that will get people out of their seats is like money. Like, this is too expensive. Oh, that was a steal. Oh, well, that dress is really nice. Where did you buy it? Oh, it was on sale. Like, it's something that is constantly going on in our minds is money. Is something expensive? Is it cheap? What about the inflation? And we are constantly taking in data and it's all landing on us depending on how we normally see the world and how much trust we have in what's around us. We all have different money mindsets. There's like not two people on earth that will see and think about money in the same way. And money in itself is actually just neutral. I could tell you a number. I could say to you 6 billion, and you're like, oh my God, that's so much. But like if it's yen, it's not the same as dollars. Like, and to a person who already has maybe 5 billion, 6 billion doesn't sound a lot. But someone who doesn't even have a pair of shoes, 6 billion is a lot. So money is completely neutral, but it's the mindset around it that make it so triggering. And that's basically roughly two types of mindset. There's the scarcity mindset and there's the abundance mindset. Scarcity mindset comes when we are brought up in an environment where maybe we don't have a lot of money, or our parents have had to work a lot for the money, and there will be a lot of sentences flying around like you have to work really hard for money and money doesn't fall from the trees, and we can't afford this. So you kind of brought up in a way, and this is generational, right? So if maybe your grandparents were struggling, then your parents inherited that mindset also. So they're like, it's hard, life is hard, and when we pay money, that money is gone, and how are we going to get it back? And there's always this kind of fear around money, and we inherit it from the parents and also from the environment maybe we live in. And then you have a more of an abundance mindset, which is when you grow up maybe in a wealthy family, whether we are a bit privileged. I think a lot of us vets, we come from privileged family. I'm not saying all of us, like my family went bankrupt when we were 12 and I had to start working all my free time from I was 14. But me, for example, I always had this like lucky go happy mindset and I keep proving it to myself because I truly believe that I am very lucky and I'm also very resourceful. If I need money for something that I really want or need, I will find it. I can work to find it, or somebody will give it to me. Like, I just have this belief that money comes to me easily. So I have a very abundant mindset. But maybe you don't have that, or maybe you just believe that money is easy because your parents never challenged that. They were like, oh, you want something, here you go, it's easy, and you just think that for whatever background you have. Now, if you have a go easy, abundant money mindset, and you're like, oh yeah, no, if you need something, you just pay for it, or you take a loan out, or somebody will give it to you, or you can take an extra shift. You have that mindset. Imagine when a client comes in really scared with their baby pet who is like hurt, and they are scared about it, and they come in with a scarcity mindset, which might be like, people always try to take my money. When I give money out, when I pay for something, that it's going to be very hard to get that money back. Other people have it easier than me. Look, like vets have it really easy, and I have it very hard. If this is going to be very expensive, I won't be able to afford, next month's rent or food or whatever. And whatever that is true now, or that's just the beliefs that are running on default in our heads, we have no idea. But imagine those two money mindsets clashing now in a highly stressful situation where you're the one going, yeah, I can help your pet, but it's going to be this much. And the owner sees the price and just completely like blocks, like, no, this is terrible and it's going to be horrible and I do not have that money. And, all the fear and anxiety comes up in them. And a lot of people do not want to show that. It can be humiliating, right? Like, to stand there and say, I can't afford that. No, so some people will turn it on its head and get angry and get very defensive. And who's on the other end of that? Well, that's us, right? Us that are there with them. And if they already come in, having seen in the news, the CMA is investigating the veterinary sector that's making so much money and the prices are not fair. They come in like, what the hell? You're going to take my money? Don't you love animals? They come in with this mindset already. And it can be very hard, no? And it can be hard for us not to take it personal when they then get angry at us and go like, well, you're just in it for the money. And here you are like holding my pet hostage. Literally, I've heard it all. I've been there. And it is hard to not get agitated, but I think it's a bit easier, right, to show compassion and a bit of understanding towards the owners, and at least not take it so personally, understanding that what they're saying to you right now is just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on with them and their situation. So what happens with money as well is when we spend money, we don't actually spend it from like a rational point of view. I know sometimes we seem to take a lot of time to make a decision. I'm not that kind. I make a decision like this and then I don't think more about it. But a lot of us, we take a long time and then we put it into boxes and maybe make an Excel spreadsheet to what's best, like car and whatever it is. And we really think about and try to decide what we're going to buy and what we're going to spend our money on. But at the end of the day, what's going to make you spend it is your emotions. It's not actually your thinking. It's like if you buy a car, it's at the end of the day, you're going to buy the car that's going to make you feel good, or that you think is going to make you feel good for whatever you want it for. Or if you buy a dress, for example, it's a lot of us are not very practical, right? We put it on and we feel good, and that makes us spend the money. And also sometimes when we have decided to spend money, as soon as we spend it and we see the money gone, it's like, oh my God, I spent this money. And irrationally, we can start freaking out, no? It's, for example, I was coaching a vet that has been on sick leave for a while, and she was worried that the sick leave was going to run out. And that was actually, I could see that was stressing her a lot, no? And because she was like, what now if I get sick again and then I don't have sick leave, and she was really obsessed with that. And I said to her, okay, so let's look at it. So what if you have spent all your sick leave and then you start working again and then you get sick again, or whatever, an accident happens? Like, how is your financial situation? Will you be able to cover it? And then she was like, oh yeah, we got this asset, husband is working, I'll actually be okay. So when you looked at the facts, there actually wasn't any problem, but just like her brain was just freaking out over this like sick leave that was not going to be there. So that is what I mean when I say that any money that we spend or we think we're going to spend is very emotional, and we tend to not be very rational about it. And we react from that emotional level, right? And that's why I say, don't try not to take it too personal when people come flying into your clinic, like, you're just here for the money, and why this and why that, and you in your head, you're like, but dentists and doctors and lawyers and accountants don't get that. Why do we get it? It's because there's so many emotions involved with pets, right? They're their babies. And as much as we can stand here and say, oh, you should just have insured it, or you should have saved up for it, or whatever, like, a lot of people, they live paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have the financial education to that can help them save up for anything, right? They just kind of like go as they best can, and they hope that things are going to turn out okay. And deep down, they know that it's not okay, that it's not okay to not have an emergency fund. So then when it hits, they feel really bad. I mean, people are not stupid, right? They come in and they can sense us judging them. They know that even with their salary, they probably could have put like £10 aside a month, maybe, towards an accident or something happening with a pet. But it's just so difficult when you're in it, and you're in this fear mindset around money, and you can't see your way out of it. Like, when you're in that hole, it is really difficult to make rational decisions and save up, and the insurance and this and the other. You just kind of feel like you're rolling in this messy white river, and you can't make the right decisions to get your money affairs in order, basically. And there's so many of us that don't, right? And I am not the one to throw the first stone, for sure. It's taken me a long time to sort my money out, because my parents didn't actually have a plan. Like I said, they were been bankrupt when they were 12. So for me to actually learn to save up and divide my money into different pools has been like a process. And I've had to read a lot of books and go to webinars to find out, like, well, it seems to, like, no matter how much money I make, I can't seem to save up. What the hell is happening? And you have to think that, especially now, when spring 2024, like, there's a lot of inflation, a lot of people are struggling financially. And once that's up in the news, people sit down, watch the news, and they get like, oh my God, yeah, we're really struggling. Like, we are struggling. Like, it's really difficult. It's really hard. It's kind of like propelling this scarcity mindset around money, that even if they could potentially take some extra shifts or get another job or sell something to make the money, it doesn't even occur to them, because they're in that much fear and anxiety, they can't see their way out of it. So this is my take on what's going to happen now with people seeing the news and seeing all the investigations going on, and they just go into this like mistrust, and that's how it's gonna push their money mindset towards the negative side, and how that's gonna land with us. So basically, try and not take it personally. Try to be compassionate towards them. Obviously, don't accept any shit, right? If they start berating you or calling you names or threatening you, like, then get out. But I'll say, like, I don't want you to talk to me like that. But within that, within, like, not the extreme, like, have some understanding for where they're coming from. And this is why I always say as well, like, give them options. Don't pressurize them towards something that is gonna trigger their money fears. So give them options, from the very cheapest thing you can think of to maybe the gold standard, but give them options and don't judge them, because they will sense it even if you don't say it. Let them make their choice. And you know what? In my opinion, having a pet, okay, there's a lot of views around it, but I think, like, a pet, if they can feed it, they love it, they do their best. Yes, a CT scan and some expensive operation might be the ideal thing. But, if they can keep it sort of pain-free and sort of happy with the money they have, you have to think that 20, 30 years ago, we didn't even have access to everything we have now in modern medicine, right? So some people have their salaries have not advanced much with time. So I think it's a bit out of reach, really, to think that they are going to have enough money to spend on these very expensive diagnostic tests and treatments that we have. So if they can't spend that, and they just want to do antibiotics and steroids because they can't afford it, or in their minds at least they can't see the possibility of affording that, that's okay as well. We have to accept that. That was it for today. Take care.